What if one reckless moment could unravel your entire world? Imagine this: a moonlit poolside, a boy too young to touch me, and a forbidden spark that left my panties soaked and my heart in pieces. His breath on my skin, the heat in my lower belly, and a secret that could destroy my family. Want to know how I fell so far? This story is a storm of desire, guilt, and choices you'll question long after it ends. Grab your wine, get comfy, and let's unravel the scandal that broke me. Before we jump in, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a single confession. I'm Kate Reynolds, a 43-year-old single mom who thought I had life figured out, raising my son, keeping our home together, and burying my own loneliness. But one summer night, everything changed when I locked eyes with Lucas, my son's 18-year-old best friend. What started as a harmless moment spiraled into a forbidden dance that left me trembling, my life in ruins, and my family redefined in ways I never imagined. This isn't just a cheating story, it's a confession about temptation, betrayal, and the cost of crossing lines you can't uncross. I'm ready to bare my soul, even if it means facing your judgment in the comments. Let's dive in. My story begins in a quiet corner of suburban Colorado, where life was simple but heavy. I'm Kate, a 43-year-old single mom to Jake, my 18-year-old son, who's about to graduate high school. Jake's my everything: smart, athletic, with a grin that reminds me of his dad, who walked out when Jake was 5. Raising him alone wasn't easy, but we built a good life in our 2-story home, complete with a backyard pool and a garden I poured my heart into. I worked as a freelance graphic designer, juggling deadlines and Jake's soccer games, always putting on a brave face. But at night, when the house was silent, the loneliness crept in, a weight I couldn't shake. Jake was in his senior year, surrounded by friends who treated our house like a second home. One of them was Lucas, his best friend since middle school. At 18, Lucas was a force, tall, lean, with messy dark hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief. He was a track star, always in motion, his laugh filling the room like sunlight. Lucas was over constantly, raiding our fridge, sprawled on our couch, or splashing in the pool with Jake. I saw him as a kid, practically family. But kids grow up, and sometimes, they see you in ways you never expect. My life revolved around Jake, but I wasn't blind to myself. At 43, I still turned heads, curly auburn hair, a figure I kept toned with yoga, and a smile that hid my scars. Men noticed, but I hadn't dated in years. The idea of letting someone in felt like betraying the life I'd built with Jake. Still, there were nights when I'd lie awake, my fingers tracing my skin, my panties damp with thoughts I didn't dare voice. I was a mom, not a woman, at least, that's what I told myself. It all began at Jake's pre-graduation pool party, a chaotic night of music, laughter, and teenage energy. The backyard was alive, kids diving into the pool, burgers sizzling on the grill, fairy lights twinkling against the dusk. I played the cool mom, serving lemonade and joking with Jake's friends, my sundress fluttering in the breeze. Lucas was there, of course, his swim trunks low on his hips, his skin glistening from the water. I caught him watching me as I handed out towels, his gaze lingering on the curve of my dress, his eyes not those of a boy but a man. A shiver ran through me, and a sudden heat bloomed in my lower belly, my panties growing damp in a way that made me blush. I brushed it off, blaming the summer heat. "Need a hand, Ms. Reynolds?" he asked, his voice deeper than I remembered, grabbing a stack of plates. His arm brushed mine, and my skin tingled, a betraying warmth spreading. I laughed, too loudly, and turned away, but the moment stuck, a pebble in my shoe. That night, as I cleaned up alone, I felt his gaze again, though he was gone. My fingers lingered on my sundress, my panties wet with thoughts I shouldn't have. I shook it off, but the seed was planted. Jake's senior year was a blur of college applications and soccer tournaments, leaving me alone more often. Lucas started dropping by without Jake, returning a borrowed charger, asking for homework help, or just checking in. His visits were innocent, but charged. He'd lean against the kitchen counter, his t-shirt clinging to his frame, his scent, clean sweat, citrus, and youth, filling the air. When he'd brush past me, reaching for a glass, my lower belly would tighten, my panties dampening with a need I couldn't name. I'd scold myself, ashamed. He was Jake's friend, barely legal. But the wanting grew, a fire I couldn't douse. The first line was crossed a week after the party, when Jake was at an away game. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, the house quiet except for the hum of crickets outside. A knock at the door startled me, Lucas, holding a soccer ball, claiming he'd left it in the garage. "Mind if I grab it?" he asked, his eyes catching the light. I nodded, leading him to the garage, my sundress swaying, my heart racing for reasons I couldn't admit. The garage was dim, cluttered with boxes and tools, the air thick with the smell of oil and dust. I pointed to a corner, but Lucas stepped closer, his body inches from mine. "You looked nice at the party," he said, his voice low, his gaze dropping to my lips. My breath hitched, a pulsing heat flooding my lower belly, my panties already wet with anticipation. I should have stepped back, but I didn't. He reached past me, his arm grazing my side, and the world tilted. "Lucas," I whispered, half warning, half plea. He turned, his face so close I could feel his breath, warm and quick. His hand found my cheek, then slid to my neck, pulling me into a kiss that was all hunger and no hesitation. My hands gripped his shirt, my body betraying me as I pressed against him, the slickness in my panties a silent confession. He dropped to his knees, his hands lifting my sundress, his lips brushing the sensitive skin above my panties, sending a jolt through me. I gasped, my fingers tangling in his hair, as his mouth explored, his breath hot against the damp fabric, teasing without crossing further. The heat in my lower belly surged, a quick, shuddering wave that left me trembling, my panties soaked, their scent mingling with his. It was over in moments, a fleeting, oral dance that felt like a lifetime. He stood, his eyes wide with shock and desire. "I'm sorry," he stammered, backing away. I smoothed my dress, my legs shaky, tears pricking my eyes. "Go," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He grabbed the ball and fled, leaving me alone with the weight of my sin. My panties, heavy with his scent, were a cruel reminder, and I buried them in the laundry, swearing it would never happen again. Weeks passed, and I avoided Lucas like the plague. Jake noticed my distance, asking if I was okay, but I plastered on a smile, hiding the storm inside. Lucas stopped coming by, but his absence only made the longing worse. I'd lie awake, my fingers tracing my skin, my panties wet with memories of his lips, his breath, his hands. The guilt was a noose, but the desire was a flame, and I was burning. It all came to a head during a late summer storm. Jake was at a friend's, and I was home, the rain pounding the roof, the power flickering. A knock at the door made my heart leap. Lucas, soaked to the bone, his t-shirt clinging to his chest, his eyes desperate. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said, stepping inside, the rain dripping from his hair. My resolve crumbled, the heat in my lower belly a wildfire. I should have sent him away, but I didn't. He crossed the room, his hands finding my waist, pulling me against him. His lips crashed into mine, hungry, urgent, his scent, rain, citrus, and raw youth, flooding my senses. My sundress fell away, pooling at my feet, leaving me in damp panties that clung to my skin, their fabric heavy with my desire. His hands roamed, rough and reverent, lifting me onto the kitchen counter, the cool surface a shock against my thighs. His fingers tugged at my panties, sliding them down, the slickness between us a shared secret. His touch was slow now, deliberate, pressing against me with a warmth that made my breath catch, my body arching into him. Each movement was a pulse, his hands tracing patterns that built a fire I couldn't control, the heat in my lower belly a furnace of need. The storm raged outside, thunder masking my moans as his fingers deepened their rhythm, my nails digging into his shoulders, my panties discarded on the floor, their scent a mix of us both. The wave built, slow and relentless, crashing over me in a shuddering release that left me gasping, my body trembling against his. He held me, his own breath ragged, his eyes searching mine for something, forgiveness, maybe, or permission. We didn't speak, just clung to each other, the rain a curtain hiding our sin. The next morning, reality hit like a freight train. Jake came home, oblivious, but I was a wreck, red-eyed, jumpy, haunted by Lucas's touch. I couldn't keep it in. I sat Jake down, my voice shaking, and confessed. His face went from confusion to rage, his fists clenching. My best friend? Mom, how could you? He stormed out, and I didn't stop him. Lucas avoided me, his texts unanswered, his presence a ghost in our home. The guilt was a physical thing, a stone in my chest, my panties wet in the night with dreams I couldn't escape. Jake moved in with his dad, cutting me off. The neighborhood buzzed with whispers, someone had seen Lucas leaving our house, and the rumor spread like wildfire. I lost clients, friends, my sense of self. I found my panties in the laundry, still carrying his scent, and burned them, but the shame stayed. Therapy helped, but the sessions were raw, peeling back layers of loneliness and desire I'd buried for years. I hated myself, but I missed Lucas, his laugh, his touch, the way he saw me, not as a mom, but as a woman. Months passed, and Jake reached out, his anger softened by time. He was moving to college, but he didn't want to lose me. Lucas had left town, chasing a track scholarship, and the distance helped. I threw myself into rebuilding, volunteering, gardening, trying to find Kate again. But the farm, our home, felt empty without Jake's laughter, Lucas's energy. A year later, Jake came home for the holidays, and we talked, really talked. He was healing, dating someone new, but he wanted his mom back. I confessed everything, not just the act, but the loneliness, the longing, the love I still had for him. He listened, tears in his eyes, and hugged me, a step toward forgiveness. Lucas reached out, too, a letter apologizing, explaining his own confusion, his need to grow. I didn't reply, but I kept it, a reminder of what we'd been. The house came alive again, Jake's visits frequent, his new girlfriend a spark of joy. But the loneliness lingered, and one night, after a long day of gardening, I found myself by the pool, the water glinting under the stars. The memory of Lucas hit hard, my panties damp with a longing I couldn't name. I didn't act on it, but I let myself feel it, a step toward healing. Jake and I built a new kind of family, not perfect, but ours. The baby I'm carrying, Jake's half-sibling, from a brief fling I don't regret, ties us together, a symbol of second chances. Lucas is gone, but his shadow lingers, a lesson in desire and consequence. We're broken, but we're whole, a family that bends but never breaks. Thank you for watching, my loves. This was my rawest confession yet. Drop a comment, am I a monster or just a woman who fell? Have you ever crossed a line you couldn't uncross? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more cheating stories that'll keep you hooked. I'll see you in the next one. Stay bold, and take care.